So why am I doing this? I'm starting this podcast because we all have a story and finances play a part in our struggles and successes. If we can learn from the many mistakes many others have made, we can make sure that more of us are successful. Like the quote says, to increase the chances of success, we must increase our failure rate. To be honest, I failed a ton. I will bring people from all walks of life, but mostly service members. If you have a story you would like to share, do not hesitate to reach out. From the go, like and subscribe to this podcast so many others can benefit. All right, on this episode, we have PltDaddy, and I'm just going to be calling you Daddy because it's the only way, right? What else would I call him? So this is he has a small business. You guys have probably seen his brands, his shirt, his stickers, and he manages his social media page. You probably connected with him through there, and let's get to know the guy. So, how you doing, Daddy?
Hey, how's it going, man? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. No, I'm stoked. I'm stoked because you and I have been talking for a while. Your brand is freaking awesome. I'm still due to buy a shirt, which I'm gonna take a second. I almost forgot because I'm trying to throw out, mention the brands, right? So this time we have Colorado Needlecraft. Go get some of their stuff. He's also small business, also in the veteran community. I actually got to meet him personally. He gave me this fanny pack that was sick. I keep not my gun in there, right? Because wouldn't keep that in there, right? Yeah, a lot of snacks, right? So, yeah, man, I'm super stoked. We've talked a ton, and tell me a little about you. For what you can share, I want people to be able to connect with you. I understand that we want to protect your identity, but what can you share about your time in the military? If you can share service, location, tell us as much as you're willing to share.
Okay, so I've been active duty for almost 2 decades now. I've been really all over the place. I joined the Army in the Surge, early World War on Terror era. Like 2 years after high school, I went to college for a little bit, messed around, and then decided ultimately it wasn't for me at the time. So I joined the Army and really loved it.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm sort of on the downhill slope, preparing myself for what's next, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
What would you say? Because this is interesting, and I'm kind of on this dilemma myself. That I was not about the Marine Corps. I was doing one enlistment at a time. But hindsight, I've realized a lot of good. So, what did you love about the Army? Again, nobody here is going to say the Army's perfect, the Marine Corps is perfect, or like you must do it. But what did you love about it?
Well, for me, it was something different. I just loved, it was like a really good sense of, I guess, community and brotherhood at the time. Now it would be brotherhood and sisterhood, but
yeah,
it was just like a bunch of people that I thought were cool, and we would go shoot guns and go train, and then after work, like hang out together, and I've done stuff and been places that you would never get to go see or do otherwise. And, there's lots of bad times to go with the good times, but for the most part, I enjoyed enough to keep doing it. I think I ended up with like 3 reenlistments before I went indefinite, which is like after your 12 years, you're just in forever until you retire.
Yeah, till the end of time, right? With that, I like that you mentioned the sisterhood. I have a lot of personal experience with women in the military. I was married to a Air Force officer, and I think in my mind, she was a gangster. And I recently have met some Army gals that are like crushing it, just because of where I am. So it's good that we mention it because they've come. There's naysayers, and they could just be naysayers, right? They're a key part of it, and there's some of them that are way better than dudes, which is, no surprise, right? There's a lot of dudes that suck, right? What would you say is the best place or a memorable place or memorable places that you've been through in your time in the Army?
Ooh, well, that's a tough one without being too specific. So
yeah,
I've been stationed in some like really cool places.
Yeah.
That I would never really think to go to or be able to afford to live in
Yeah.
places with like really high economies.
Okay.
Um, as far as travel, I mean, I'm not going to say Iraq was a great place to visit, but
Yeah.
the Middle East certainly, I appreciate the experience I gained and like just what I learned about, the world as a whole and like how grateful we should be living here compared to the conditions of life in most other countries in the world.
Yeah. Dude, that's huge to say that. I'm dealing with that right now. And I think this is the first time I'm going to say it in the podcast. I'm at almost 19 years in the Marine Corps, and I don't think I felt patriotic in the military very few moments, right? One of them, I still remember going to the island at Iwo Jima on an AAV that made me feel patriotic. But just recently, I've realized the patriotism, how proud I am to be in the military, how proud I am to be an American. And I think that it's also because I was not American and I had not found my grasp.
Right?
But in hindsight, like I compare, our incredible country to, let's not even compare it to Iraq and Afghanistan, right? Those are anomalies, right? But I compare it to Argentina, to European countries. It's like we are so incredible. And it actually, we don't really appreciate it until you leave,
Yeah.
and it's crazy, right? Like, we have to leave. We have to suffer away from home to be like, man, the land of McDonald's. It's pretty freaking awesome, right? Yeah, it gives a whole different appreciation for it. And I get it. Would you say, are you open to share what's your profession in the military?
I'll just say I'm combat arms. I'll leave it at that.
Good enough. Good
Not
enough.
too
Good
specific.
enough. Good. So you're not a pogue like me, right?
no,
Dude, I
but
am.
no, but I
Yeah.
wish I was. To be honest.
Yeah. I'll tell you a funny story on pogues. I was in Afghanistan. This is my first EOD deployment, and the guys that taught me how to EOD and how to war, like I pretty much showed up holding the rifle upside down. I didn't know where I was. I was like, what am I doing? And towards the middle to end of the deployment, I'm sitting around this fire pit with some infantrymen, and they're like, you know what? Pogues this, pogues that, and I'm like, bro, I'm right here. I'm a pogue. And they're like, well, you don't count. You're EOD. And I was like, dude, I am a pogue. I am not a grunt. The end. Right? When they say go get on that what do you call, on the tower, I'm gonna be like, nah, I'm going to bed. Right? So I'm still a pogue, right? So but we're crucial, right? I think that
Yeah.
the maturity, the people that rag on pogues are only like really young kids
Right.
until you realize that eventually you're gonna go hungry without support, right?
Right.
If it's we play a role, right? And even though the military still revolves around the young E3 and the Army and the Marine Corps, I was actually talking to an Air Force guy. Is like, oh yeah, the Air Force can do all this stuff, and I'm like, man, the Air Force is crucial. Would never want to go to war without it. But at the end of the day, you're doing all that so a young E3 with a saw can show up and be like, where am I? I want to go
Right.
home. So yeah, enough of the military. So uh, before we get into your business, I have a question, and I kind of told you a little bit about it. Were
Okay.
you brought up with any finance scripts? Anything that you heard people, family, friends say, like money doesn't grow on trees, the rich are evil, anything like that, that had a formative effect in your life?
Yeah. So I I'll say both my parents grew up poor.
Mm-hmm.
So they're both from the South, the different parts respectively, but they both grew up poor. My mom's family was a farmer. They lived in a wood cabin with no electricity, no heat and air.
Wow.
My grandma worked several jobs and farmed and took care of the kids. My dad was in the service, but they both grew up really poor. And from that, they both had their own careers where they individually learned fiscal responsibility and the importance of saving and money.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time they got married and I came into the picture, they weren't really wealthy, but they had money and they were very frugal. And so now they're pretty elderly. They're both like in their 70s and they're on the upper middle class, I would say. Like
Good.
They've been busting their ass and saving their whole life by being cheap, more or
Right.
less what I would call it. And they still to this day, like my mom recycles Walmart bags and like
Good.
boxes. Our closets are full as crap. I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, when we die, you're gonna have to come sort through this shit. I'm like, how about not? Like, let's just get rid
Yeah.
of it, bro.
It's your final chore. Hey, daddy, go clean the closet.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
mean, they're both very very like frugal. So my dad will he'll drive around for like several miles just to find a gas station that's like 2 cents cheaper. Whereas I guess I kind of grew up with that, but I'm a little less responsible, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Whereas to me, it's like, oh, let's get the more expensive stuff right now because it saves time. I
Yeah.
guess I have more of a time value relationship than long
Right.
term. I guess there's more that goes into it than that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
So
that was
you so what would you say when any so your parents growing up poor to them always saving and being frugal, is there anything else that they said, or maybe not them, right? Your friends, family, your surroundings that affected how you see finance, how you see money, that you have seen it affecting your life?
it's kind of hard to put words on. I would say like I was taught, work for what you have. Um, I had jobs since I was 15 years old, and then I've
Uh-huh.
spent the entirety of my 20s and 30s in the military, which some would argue that's a hard job, and some would say it's kind of not. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
I've been employed my entire life, and I'm not rich by any means, but I would just say they showed me the value of
Mm,
money and like not blowing it, I guess you could say.
yeah. Well, it seems like you've gone pretty far. You have a business. People won't be able to see this, so suck it, nerds. Seems like you have a beautiful home, right? Which is pretty cool, right? You've lived up to the efforts of your family, which is great. And you said something about time, right? That you value time. Can you expand on that? And how does that affect your business? How does it affect your personal life? Do you anything else that you do to prioritize time over cost savings?
Yeah, so time, let's see. I'm in the end of my 30s right now, so not crazy old, but I do see a big difference in, now versus like my early 30s or 20s.
Yeah,
Like the thought that like, hey, I'm going to live forever and life is so much there's so much more to life because I'm so young, like that
yeah,
reality is kind of beginning to fade. Where I'm like, hey, like I'm almost about to be out of the military. And
yeah,
40 doesn't sound young. Like I know that is to some people, but like to me that doesn't sound young. That's like you're a grown ass man at 40 and you
yeah,
need to get your shit together. So I've
yeah.
kind of I've been really busting my ass. I have several degrees. Um, this is not the first business I've gotten into,
Mm,
and my priorities have always been my family and the military.
yeah,
People, everybody has their own different outlook on the military at this point based on their personal experiences, but I've always made it like my priority to be the best I could be at whatever my job was at that time.
would you say that your priority was to be the best you could be in the army?
Yeah, yeah, I could be all I could be,
Yeah, all you could be.
or
Yeah,
something like
that's what it
that.
is. Yeah, whatever it is, right?
But yeah, so I've always just tried to be, I guess not always, but more recently try to just do as much as I can. And with the business, it's a whole other aspect of time management because
Mm,
a lot of people spend all their time on their phone, unfortunately. Well, when your business is based off the internet, it's no exception. So
yeah,
I spend a lot of time on my phone answering messages, reading comments, networking, coming up with new ideas, photos, and I get a lot of messages that are people just like to talk. I don't know. I don't mind
yeah,
talking to people. I'm like pretty humble, I would say, but there's people that'll sit there and like spend all day talking to you, and you gotta be like, hey, sorry, like I literally don't have time to do this. Like
Yeah.
you have to prioritize what you're going to spend your day on.
And that's very interesting because it's, I mean, you and I were talking about right before we started how people think that they want just a YouTube. People just think they want to go find the research and whatever. But in reality, they want a connection. And somehow with our presence, our social media presence, the care that we put into it, you know, and you and I have been on both sides of it, right? We write to each other and the reply is timely. I'm not going to say fast. I'm not going to say short, long, but timely, right?
Right.
And people like that. And it proves that there's people that are isolated. You know, I can only imagine, you know, if you're a young E3 from, let's say, whatever, Bronx, and you end up in a platoon with a bunch of Southern boys, all of a sudden you may not have any friends for a while. It may take some time. And that isolation leads you to find it somewhere, and they reach out to us, and it's not our duty, but we'll make time for it within the confines of our priorities, right? But I think we generally come back to it. I find it very interesting because, like, and obviously there's the cries for attention that we have to give it care, and it's
Right.
generally pretty obvious, right? Have you had anything like that? Anybody reach out to like, man, I'm struggling, and
Oh, definitely. So,
I mean, you're daddy, so now I know if you have any problems, go to daddy, right?
so one of the things I used to do more often, like the last year, was I would have just kind of ask, "Hey, what's going on in your life? Are you having problems? What's on your mind?" Or if you share the suicide of a service member, somebody,
Hmm.
anytime it's kind of like brought to light, people will come out of the woodworks. They feel gravitated and they feel like that's the time to like share their piece. So I've had a
Yeah,
lot of people that have just not been doing great, and I love making the time and talking to those people
yeah,
whenever the situation does come up. That's probably the one thing I'll try to always keep time for.
yeah. And so be, I guess we might as well jump into the business right off the gate because it's you know, it's part of the social media presence. What inspired you to create Platoon Daddy?
So I got into the, I guess, social media game like mid 2015, 2016.
Uh-huh.
I worked with another company that I'm not going to name for a couple years, and I learned a lot. And eventually, I went my separate way. And this was sort of like I guess it was kind of like a project to just see what I could do on my own. Like all the skills and things that I've learned in the past, I did them for myself. And this
Uh-huh.
is sort of like a project, I guess you could say. Um, it was just a meme page for like a good year, and then I started selling little dumbass stickers that I drew in 2021, and last year I really started selling more stickers, and then got into shirts and other stuff. And I know it's like a very overdone market. It's
Yeah.
sort of like cliche, like oh, veteran T-shirt company,
Uh-huh.
blah blah blah, but it's still a very good practice of like the small business model
Yeah.
and learning a lot of valuable skills because I do really everything. My wife helps me, and I have like an ad guy and somebody else that helps me on social media. But
Yeah.
it's a really small team, so it's
Well,
stressful, but you learn a lot.
yeah. And I had never thought of this because obviously the veteran shirt brand is like, let's rag on them, right? Until just a second it hit me how important it is because it shows our the military communities need to connect,
Yeah,
need to be part of something, right? Because it's crazy. Like I'm sure there's a kid wearing a Platoon Daddy shirt in JBLM in Fort Carson, and somebody's like, "Platoon Daddy shirt, sick." And there's that sense of connection, right? And it somehow only works here, right? You don't really see that well outside of sports teams, which is very interesting to me now how valuable it is to be part of something to connect beyond the Army and the Marine Corps and the Navy, the Air Force and Space Force, Coast Guard, that uh, work so hard to indoctrinate us to make us just a number that then we just want to be more of just like, I am Jaime and I am also with Platoon Daddy, so to speak, right? Which is very interesting, that effect.
Yeah, I agree. There is a big need, but I would say on the flip side, there's the community as a whole, if you want to call it that, is like it's very vast and different, right? So
Oh yeah.
you've got the old dudes who are like in Nam and shit and like barely can work the internet, and then you've got the older like Cold War, Desert Storm,
Mm,
end of the career and like OIF 1, and then you have the GWAT babies like me who were in the military for 2003 to now, and everybody has
yeah.
different opinions and likes and dislikes, but I don't know. I think people just like ragging on everybody else. It's for some
Yeah.
reason like there's a lot of haters in this community.
Oh yeah.
It is what it is.
I think
That's
it's good.
such as
And
life.
it shows how different we are. When I see it a lot in Marine EOD, there's some old heads that are like, oh, we shouldn't do this or we shouldn't do that, or like, but it was like, man, you're because you don't like it and you don't connect with it doesn't mean it's bad. Somebody somewhere is connecting with it and benefiting from it,
Yeah.
right? So it's pretty cool. So that's how you came about with it. But why stickers? Why the brand? What was it? Is there anything that you can share that it was like, this is what I want to do now, right? This is the type of brand that I want to have.
Hmm. Well, to be honest, stickers is just the easiest way to test your market, and this is like getting more into the business side of things, but
Yeah.
stickers is an easy way to test the waters and see if people actually like your brand or if they like the art you have, because they're pretty
Mm,
low cost for for me and the customer. It's a low cost item, so you make them and people either buy them or they don't. It's way more simple than like t-shirts. That's a whole nother beat.
yeah.
But I don't know. I've always liked my specific kind of art and vibe. My kind of thing now is like, I guess, more of the old school stuff. I know today's military is not really old school at all anymore. It's like the young dudes and dudettes that
Mm-hmm.
pretty much run the community now. But I like
Yeah.
to kind of keep it old school sometimes, like BDU pattern and just stuff that's kind of like thought to be gone away with or outdated.
Oh yeah. It's funny. I just saw, what was it? The guy. Have you ever seen the Page Constellation Group?
Yeah, yeah,
The Marine First Sergeant. He
yep,
just posted something about M81, and I feel exactly how he does. It's like, this is the God's camo, right? And I'm
yeah,
literally wearing a jacket with that camo and shoes with that camo. I freaking love it. Um, Yeah, and I like that look. And actually, and that's kind of why I have you here, because people are thinking about starting a business. And you
right,
brought up something I had never thought. It's the low cost. Find something low cost, test the market, and that allows you to expand, right? Which I've been thinking, I particularly don't want to get into the merch game, is not my thing, but I want something to give,
right,
right? I want something to like, hey, can I have something? And I've been pondering on what that look is, whether it's a coin, whether it's a hat. I don't want to get into shirts, but stickers, kind of balancing that out, because I want people to reach out so that we can improve more finances, right? Maybe,
right,
and also tie that into the right array of the importance of finance, right? Business or whatever, because most of us, at some point, people are going to stop running and gunning, right? Then what?
yeah.
Right? And we have to be prepared for that. So, with that, what is the best and worst financial advice you ever got?
Oh man. So
Wait, did you ever buy a car with super high interest rate? No Camaros, Mustangs?
I didn't do that,
Damn.
but I did take out like a payday loan when I was a like a young E5 club
Yeah.
sergeant.
Nice.
And not only did I do that, I did it to buy something completely unnecessary that I didn't need. So
What you buy? Can you share?
yeah, it was a set of like giant tires and rims for my truck.
Yes.
Complete waste of money. That just killed my gas mileage. But
Yeah.
they look cool, you know.
Yeah. You look cool. You felt cool. So it was a, there you go. Make a sticker about that. That'd be
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah. Cool. So you did do that. So what is the best and worst financial advice you ever got?
Well, shit. I don't know. I've heard, like, aside from the military, you always hear the same cliche, like, safety brief stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
I think my dad said something at one point about getting married or getting a divorce. He said it's cheaper to keep her because, because now now that I'm divorced, I pay like a E1 salary and child support every month, so that's tight.
Oh, that's tight. Sick. Are you remarried?
I am, yes,
Nice, nice.
to
So
somebody
I,
else.
if she, yeah, if she heard this, cheaper to keep her. So, hey man, I get it. Would you
Yeah,
say that was good advice or bad advice from your dad?
I don't know. Honestly, it's definitely would have been cheaper, but I don't think mentally it was the
Yeah,
right move. So I think I made
I
the right
get it.
move.
I get it. So
Even
good
though it was
advice.
cheaper, yeah,
Yeah. So bad advice because you did get rid of her. Cool.
right.
Bad advice. What about anything that you heard that maybe it was within business, not precisely finance, that you were like, man, that is a solid tip. Anything that stuck with you?
Oh man, I don't know if it's something I've heard, but like just the thing that I try to stick with as much as possible is if you can't afford it, then don't buy it. Like you don't need it. And
Yeah.
being able to afford something doesn't mean that you have the money to buy it or you can finance it. Being able to afford it means that you can buy it and it's not going to kill you with the payments or kill your savings account. You know, being able to afford something means it's not going to be a detriment to your lifestyle or your finances.
Yeah.
Not just,
Or
oh,
even
I can't buy this, so I should. Like, no.
yeah. Or even your mental health in the future, which is kind of where I catch a lot of people that they purchase things, they put on a credit card and they're still paying for it.
Oh
You're
yeah,
like, dude, like we
I
can help
had
that.
I had some bad experiences. So I don't know if the Marine Corps has this, but we have the Star Card in the Army,
Mm-hmm.
which is like it's like a credit card that give you AFES, like the NEX or the PX.
Mm-hmm.
And the bad thing about it is, so it starts off with a low limit, like $500, which if you're a private who's never had shit, that's a decent bit of money. But the problem is, once you max it out and pay it off, they keep raising the limit. So it'll raise it and raise it and raise it. And
Really?
yeah, you can get your limit up to like several $1,000s. And as a E1 who doesn't only make like $1,500 a month, that can be kind of dangerous.
Dude, I had no idea about that because I never had a star card.
Yeah,
But
it's
it's
pretty bad.
funny. There's certain things that when I talk to people on a one-on-one that like accuse me of possibly bad financial state, star card, first command, and still a Navy Fed USA checking and saving account.
Yeah,
And the star card is like my first thing. I was like, we need to tackle that because it's the worst part about it is that, well, things right, not worse. The worst part is what you just said. But on top of that, it forces you to shop on base, and that may not be the best option. And then
right.
it's like forcing you, which is great. It's like a trap. You're on base, you're at work, and you're like, I need to get out of work. I'm gonna go to the PX. I have my star card. I'm gonna buy a monster, and then I'm gonna buy chips. I'm like,
Well,
oh, new video game. And all of a sudden, it's like snowball effect that
yeah,
you can't
bro.
control because you're just running from you're emotionally shopping to get away from work,
Big screen TVs, the new Xbox, like
dude.
they got everything there, and you can
Yeah,
spend all your paycheck on
yeah.
junk.
And the kids are emotional. I mean, I don't blame them. They should be emotional, right? There's a lot of crappy leaders, and the like you said, the military is not easy and it's not hard. I like to say that the military is a easy days. Oh, sorry, hard days, but an easy life, right? We have a lot of benefits, and
Right?
people just emotionally shop, and that's tough. Yeah, the star card is a not cash money in my mind. I definitely do not put it as cash money.
No,
No.
and that I mean, just to go on with that, like credit cards in general
Mhm.
are very dangerous. So I'm at the point now in my life where I have pretty good credit. It's not perfect, but it's like almost 800,
Nice.
and like they'll give you a lot of money and they'll let you spend your ass off, and then you can
Hmm.
quickly find yourself in way more debt than you can pay off. So
Yeah.
it's just goes back to staying smart about what do you really need or what you can actually afford versus I'll screw it. I'll just throw it on the credit card, and then
Yeah.
it adds up
And
quick.
it's it's tough with credit cards because they're so useful. I always go back to credit cards. I explain it like a gun, right? Is the credit card itself bad? No. You put it in the hands of a bad person, terrible. Hands of a good person, great, right? And people don't realize that those things will literally kill you if you mess it up. Like, man, it's so tough, but they're crucial to build credit. They're, I love the American Expresses, and it's part of my emergency fund because the military will never have in the military we'll never have a medical emergency that we cannot afford, right? So then again, most of my emergencies I can bail myself out for a month with an Amex card, right? So they're super useful, part of the strategy, but people mess it up and they're like chips, monster, guns, ammo,
Yeah,
hobbies, travel, and then you have a car problem. You throw it on there, you're stuck, you know?
yeah. The Amex, at least, like I'm not a guru, but I have about like four different credit cards, and from my experience, the Amex has like by far the best
Mm-hmm.
like cash back or like points benefits, but also, I mean, none of them have a great interest rate. So
No,
if you're
they're
not paying
only
it
good if
off,
you pay it off every month. It's the
yeah,
only
if
way.
you're not paying it off, it's like starts to hurt.
Yeah. So on to another point, because you say you travel a lot, um, and I don't want to assume if you have any hazardous duty pays. But do you feel that you maximize your dollars in deployments, reenlistment bonuses, per diem, HCIPs? Do you feel you maximize them, or for the most part, it's all gone?
Yeah, absolutely not. So it's good that you have me on here because I'm like, I would consider myself one of the average people who was not great with money. Um, I've received like three or four enlistment or reenlistment bonuses throughout my career, all gone. I received special duty pay, hazardous duty pay. At the time, is just like, hey, here's more money that I can spend on stuff. So
Hmm.
basically, as your income goes up, so does my cost of living slash spending. If
Hmm.
I keep that on par with my income instead of keeping it low and then
Yeah.
stashing away the rest.
Are you stashing now when you're making a platoon daddy, or you're still in the same cycle?
So I've started saving before Platoon Daddy. So I've got like an IRA with a bit of money in it. I do the TSP. I didn't start it as early as I should have, but I've been doing it for at least 5 years now,
Nice.
and I only do a 5%, which
Yeah.
isn't crazy, but it stacks up.
Hmm.
And then savings accounts, I don't really keep much in there. It's just enough for like an emergency.
Hmm.
I have. This is going to sound stupid, but I actually had a lot of money invested in cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
That one kind of bit me in the ass.
Yeah.
It was it was very lucrative at the time, and I was making like $1,000 every couple of days or weeks because just buying and reselling, and it was so good, and then all of a sudden it just tanked. So my 15K of crypto is now like 2K.
Yeah.
It's just sitting there. It's going to sit there forever unless it goes back up or
Hmm.
whatever. I'm not going to sell it. So we'll see how it goes. Um, Other than that, as far as the business goes, I'm not really at the point yet where I can start saving much money. Last year was my first year that I actually filed taxes and was a LLC. I
Hmm.
came in at a loss last year. It was about a break even, but it was at a loss technically, so I didn't owe any money, which is nice.
Yeah.
This year will probably be profitable, but the majority of my profits go back into art. I spent a lot of money on art, which
Yeah.
just to shout out while I'm here, almost
Hmm.
all my artists are veteran owned. They're
Let's
all
go.
veterans. I think I have like one or two designs from like foreigners, but everybody is a veteran.
Let's go.
So like my whole business model is like reinvesting in veterans. My shirt maker, Mission Essential Gear, he's a Marine, and his wife,
Hmm.
they run the company. All my artists are veterans, and almost everything I buy from somebody is a veteran company.
Love it.
So
Love it. Have you used again, not that they do art as much. I know they're really busy, but I'm friends with them. Have you ever seen We the Willing Collective?
I have, yeah, I
Yeah.
follow them.
Yeah. I know those guys, and I don't know if I mean if you want to throw them in your repertoire, but I know they're super busy and they're like pretty niche, right?
Yeah,
But the that thing that I have right here, the We Always Step Up is there, so it's pretty,
nice.
that's cool. You're throwing it up because we have to take care of vets, right? It's always funny. I've said it before. I refuse to ask for discounts in veteran owned businesses. I'll pay top dollar, but if it's not a veteran owned, I'm like, give me a discount.
You'd be surprised. People still ask me if I do veteran discounts, and I'm like, bro, everybody is a veteran here. Like, sorry, I would go broke if I gave veterans discount.
Oh yeah, you get. You know what you should, or then you got to do the classic business strategy. You raise the price and you give a discount.
Right? Yeah,
Yeah.
looks
Oh yeah, we'll hook you up. Yeah. But again, people forget that like you have to, there's a cost of product of materials, cost of
yeah,
your labor, right? People you got to pay. Things don't just appear, and you're not independently wealthy, So it takes time and effort. Yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
It's oh, sorry.
no, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say it's still very tight margins. So for anybody thinking about getting into small business, sorry, the dog's running around. For
Yeah.
anybody thinking about getting into small business, it's only worth it if it's worth it to you. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not getting rich. I'm selling a lot of stuff now, yes, but most of that money is going right back into more stuff. It's like a money trap that I'm hoping, inshallah, one day will help me, better my situation. But aside from just the cost of products and art, I try to give back here and there when I can. A lot of these companies I won't name, but they do some really cool giveaways, like giving away night vision and stuff. That's
Nice.
awesome. I'm not there yet, but hopefully one
Yeah.
day. But
Yeah.
so this month I'm giving away. I think now I'm up to like $600. I'm going to give to Live American Yogi, who's basically it's an ex civil affairs guy who does like yoga retreats, and he
Yeah.
takes veterans uh, who may be suffering from PTS or whatever, and
Yeah.
they go out of country on these healing retreats, and pretty cool stuff. So just I'd rather help other people out along the way than just make as much money as possible. So
Which makes sense. I'm actually on that mission myself. I'm trying to make an exorbitant amount of money, and I'll say this to anybody. I want to make millions of dollars, but here's my why. I want to change my world, right? And I have this vision, and this is the first time I said it. Maybe not first time that I have this dream of being able to fund MRIs for EOD techs when they graduate,
that'd be
right?
awesome.
And right, it's like, hey, you graduate EOD school, go to my nonprofit, get your brain scan MRI. But people forget that the only way that you help people is by making money.
Right.
Money or time. It's the only two ways that you can help. And if you don't sell shirts, you don't sell stickers, then there's no money to help, the yogi retreats. And
Yeah.
it's that valuable, right? So now to me, I am a huge supporter. Like, I'm gonna buy a shirt from you, and hopefully you become a millionaire so you can continue to donate money.
Right.
Because clearly neither you or I really care of have like opulent homes and opulent cars, right? We just want to give back, right? And that to me is really valuable, right? Do you imagine if there was more wealthy veterans? Like to me, you know, we have so many problems, we have so many causes, but a lot of them, like there's still so many problems that are not getting helped. There's still
Right.
more room, so it's pretty cool. I'm glad that you're doing that, and I hope that more people listen to that they want to get wealthy so they can change their world, improve their communities. Every community needs it. Every community needs it.
Yeah. So that I just want to hit on a quick point real quick. I've talked about this with some of my other friends. There is, in my opinion, there's not a whole lot of pages or companies or organizations that exist solely to help like
Mm-hmm.
regular conventional forces. So I know there's a lot of organizations and charities designed specifically for special forces,
Yeah.
special operations forces, Rangers, SOF, MARSOC, and
Mm-hmm.
that's great. They deserve it. But I feel like the normal person is underrepresented,
Oh
and
yeah,
there's so many people killing themselves and just hopeless out there. Eventually, I would like to try to find something or somebody to help that portion of the community. You know what I mean? Just like
totally.
the average dude or dudette who never got recognition, but
Yeah.
still fucked up from their
Oh
service.
yeah. And I say this in my courses because I get EOD techs. 90% of my students are conventional forces, which is great, right? And I'm tied a little bit. And people come and they have a solution, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this is how we do it in Marsac. This is how we do it in an ODA." And I'm like, "Bro, I genuinely don't care. That is not a holistic solution. Soft solutions are not holistic solutions. But if you fix it in a conventional unit, guaranteed it can improve even soft." And that's what people forget, right? There's in an actual everyday today. And I had a conversation this week with a SMU guy, and we're talking about this. He's like, "Yeah, totally. I want conventional forces to be better because then we're better. So if we take care of the regular guy, everybody benefits,
Right.
right? Even when you get out." So now, more so tying into what you're saying is that it's so important because like I said, underrepresented. And kudos. I was part of MARSOC and I love it. But my time in conventional was equally important to my formative to my time in the Marine Corps,
Right.
and providing that is crucial, right? Because these are the guys that are, for crying out loud, for every single green guy with a green beret hat, you see 20 dudes with 82nd hats. I live in New Mexico and I see 80 dudes with 82nd hats here, 101st hats, and they deserve the same equal care. Their commitment and time was the same. Their in many of them, the passion was the same. They
Right.
just didn't want to go there, and that's okay. They're not any less. Um, what would you have you thought of? What kind of impact you would like to do to conventional forces? And I'll tie it just in case you haven't heard of them. Have you ever heard of the Semper Fi in America's Fund?
I have not heard of that one. No.
So here we go. Semper Fi in America's Fund. They're badass. So they care for veterans, mostly people with TBI. People can reach out. I hope every single veteran right now reaches out to them. Go put in an application, and they'll send you a ton of free stuff within their budget. But you get free care. Like right now, I'm about to do a neurofeedback testing, and it was designed by some. It was created, if I remember right. I apologize if I get it wrong. Some wives in the Marine Corps in Camp Pendleton, and it started growing, and they got so big that they had to make it Semper Fi and Americas
Huh.
to take care of all four services. So you literally can go on the website, put your name on there, and they'll let you know if you qualify. Which the more care we give for the regular guy, the better our communities will be, right? Like for every one suicide in soft, there's probably 20, and like out of the 22, probably two of them are soft. The rest are conventional people, and nobody cares about that. Well, a lot of people care about them. They're just underrepresented.
Yeah. This is not as much exposure, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
And people think that like, oh, we should just care more about soft. And I was like, no. Soft is nothing with other conventional guys. Nothing. And we're not gonna win wars with just them. And people forget that, which is unfortunate, right?
yeah.
Yeah. What would you so have you thought of what kind of impact you want to do in your with your nonprofit? Have you ever made one? Are you open to share that?
So I haven't. It's Platoon Day is not a nonprofit, um,
I
but
mean, like in the future, have you thought what kind of effect you would like to have in the world?
so most likely it would just come in the form of donations. Um, I personally see my company staying as small as possible because at some point I want to be done with it. I
Yeah.
want to give it, sell it to somebody, give it away. I just want to go live with my wife and some animals and relax at some point.
Yeah.
But I do want to. I think donating to the right people can make a huge difference. So I know
Hmm.
107 Foundation is a huge one I want
Oh
to
yeah.
shout out. I've seen a lot of patrol base abate,
Yep.
and then Live American Yogi is another one that I've been working with right now. So all three of those help. people every day that are, have issues or need help.
Mm-hmm.
I myself, I'm not, shy of the fact that like I'm one of the messed up people too. So
Yeah.
I'm like championing for everybody because one day I'm going to be done with this and I'm going to want to take a break,
Yeah.
and get some help too. So
Totally. And you deserve it. You deserve it just as much as the other guy. So moving back a little bit to the finance part, what are your goals? Goals and dreams. What do you want to do? I say financially, but not like in
right.
general. You already said move somewhere with your wife, with some animals. Obviously, that has a financial component to it. So, what are your goals and dreams?
Well, my goals right now, I guess you could say short term, is to finish my time in the military, um, and be able to receive my full VA benefits and pension.
Mm-hmm.
I won't say how many years that'll be from now, but hopefully it comes fast. And I want to basically my plan in my mind is make about what I'm making now for my disability and retirements,
Mm-hmm.
and then find another job, something that I enjoy doing or find purpose in, to basically not really supplement my disability, but like replicate it. So if I can make
Oh
what I'm
yeah.
making now and times two that, then I feel I'll be pretty comfortable, saving, investing, and having the money to live the way I want it.
Yeah.
We have a lot of aspirations to travel. We both love traveling and seeing the world. I don't want sports cars or a mansion, but I would like to travel and see stuff and just be debt free, I guess, basically is the plan.
Yeah. That's huge. That's huge. And I think that's great. And uh, if you don't mind, I challenge a thought of comfort?
Yeah,
If are you open to that? So I'm really big on this thing, and I talk to everybody about it. So people often say, "I want to be financially comfortable," right? But you look at your time as an adult. You've done nothing comfortable, and you have always had this discomfort to achieve stuff. So your success in the military required discomfort. Do you go to the gym until you're comfortable? I was like, probably not, right? You probably, when you bench, I'm sure that maxing, or maybe not maxing out, but doing a 10 sets of close to your 80% is not comfortable. So somehow in our profession, we seek discomfort to reach greatness. In
right,
fitness, we seek discomfort for greatness. So why in finance, we seek to just be comfortable?
right. I guess
Crazy, right?
that's a better way to think of it. Um, Safe, maybe
I like that.
safe,
Secure.
secure to
Yeah.
where you know the economy can go to shit, or I can lose my job and I'm not gonna worry about being homeless in like a
Yeah.
year or a few months. Because let's
It,
be real, like right now, most of us are living pretty much paycheck to paycheck. As
oh,
sad
yeah.
as that is, like even the military, like they've cut off our pay several times since I've been in the army, during like the budget votes and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Like the reality is, if most of us in the military got out right now and stopped getting our paychecks, we would be homeless in a few months.
Totally. And that's part of my crusade, right? Like, how do I get people to not feel that?
Right,
For them to like, if I can, I mean, just yesterday, a kid was like, I have 50 grand. What can you make me 100? And I was like, well, based on current interest rates, 6 years, guaranteed. Right. And it's like, people they're not aware of what they can do with what they have,
right,
and get them out of that discomfort, it's really my sole purpose right now. How do I get them out of discomfort, and I can show them where to put it? Which you said something that we're going to circle back later. But yeah, and that's why I really try to talk about comfort, because the more I talk to wealthy people, they're not thinking of comfort. They're thinking about greatness.
yeah, yeah,
Just like when we joined the military, we're thinking of like, I want to be a great platoon daddy. I want to be a great, pogue. I want to max out my bench. I want this squad. some people PFT, whatever. We seek greatness. So somehow, why in finance we set a cap of comfort? But if
right.
we seek financially security, that is huge, huge change, a huge strategy changing your life, And I really harp on mindset because the rich have that, the wealthy have that.
For the record, I don't think EOD are pogues.
We're totally pokes, man. We're
No,
not a
no,
grunt.
no.
Yeah. Dude, I will literally say it. I am soft as puppy shit, and most EOD I know, they're pretty soft too.
I
I'm
don't
kidding.
know. We
Yeah,
we had
yeah.
Navy EOD with us on deployment, and I don't know.
There's something
Not,
else.
it's not something I would want to do personally, but
Yeah. I mean, but we're still a poke. Now, my favorite one is the Brits have this term Ponty.
Ponty.
Is a person of no tactical importance.
Ooh, I like
Now,
that one.
I am super important in a tactical space, but I'm still a poke. So
Ponty.
maybe that's what I should do. I should just write a like financial enabler and how to be a poke. Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty good. So, but with that, dude, this has been awesome, man. And you have a lot to share. And I can already tell that you're open to people to reach out to you about small business, about mental health, whatever, right? And same here, which is great. So, do you have any closing comments, any final shout outs, anything you want to pass on to a young E3, O1, whatever, that is interested in business, that wants to improve their finances, or in general as military advice or input?
Oh man. Well, let's see. I got. First of all, if anybody hearing this knows who I am, please don't try to screw me. I'm just trying to. I'm just trying to serve my time and retire and make money. Thanks. Second of all, if anybody needs somebody to talk to, you can always DM me. I'm on my phone every day, so there's somebody that cares about you and wants to talk to you or will talk to you. So
Mm-hmm.
it's always better to share your embarrassing story versus have everybody that cares about you, upset later on.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I don't plan on going anywhere. This is like really the last 12 months is the first years of business where I really started branching out into new stuff and growing. So I'm excited to see where it goes. And yeah, I appreciate you having me on.
Dude, pumped.
Hopefully, I didn't sound like too much of an idiot.
No, not at all, man. And I think you are the key. You're kind of like, so there's my two key people that I want to bring on the podcast is guys like you that have a voice. And I want more regular guys, which you happen to be both. Because the reality is that if I brought a multimillionaire and spilled his advice, it's not relatable.
Right.
But you are relatable. You are successful, right? You're running a brand that most of us recognize. I wrote to a few people, brought in PltDaddy. They're like, oh, I know who that is. Great. And I want more young people, more service members to be able to achieve that. And the reality is that, let's just use the shirt thing. There's always room for another shirt brand.
Yeah.
Most of them last very long. It's okay. If that's what you want to do to start your market and if field business, fine. Maybe another sticker brand. It's cool. And that's why I really try to bring more regular guys. And that's awesome, man. I really appreciate your time. And I'm sure we're going to keep chatting. And I'm going to have to go to your thing and order a shirt. I'm going to give me a shirt so that I can
Yeah.
rep
It's
it.
like my thing is people, I don't know. I feel like everybody is so competitive and like
Oh, yeah.
people are so like stingy, but there's so much opportunity. Like everybody can make it. You just got to help each other and like, what I
Yeah.
mean? Be supportive. So,
Literally the land of opportunity, And there's, one of my mentors says, we got to live the American dream because there's no French dream. There's no Canadian dream. There's no German dream. There's an American dream. And that's
right.
pretty awesome, right? But yeah, man, I really appreciate your time. We'll stay in touch. And Kit, I'm going to post your page on the podcast. And this was awesome, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you
Yeah.
very much. This podcast is not financial advice, and it only represents the opinions of those participating. Our goal is to get you to your version of financial independence. Please follow and like on every platform.